Hey, Thrive Loud fans, Lou Diamond here. We are living in tough, often confusing times, and there are a lot of social issues out there. And I think everyone is beginning to understand the importance of addressing and talking about these issues. Prink Shop has a simple mission: to talk about the things that matter, lend a hand to those in need, and have fun all the while. The team at Prink Shop provides their community with something to wear that they care about, create a dialogue, and spread the word in a positive, affirmative tone. So check out all of their clothing and accessories that literally spell out the issues that everyone is talking about. Their quotes, sayings, and messages are true conversation starters and make great gifts for the holiday season. Head on over to prinkshop.com and use the promo code THRIVELOUD to get free shipping throughout the holiday season. Prink Shop. We've got issues.
Today on Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond.
Your mindset's an asset. And I think your listeners need to understand that when you have the confidence of knowing that you can accomplish anything, even though you may not know how to get there, that is an asset that you can pull out. And that's really what that gave me, is the confidence to be able to go out there and do the things I wanted to do.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you an important announcement. Thrive Loud is officially the best podcast ever. And Lou Diamond is still bald. That is all.
You don't need to play it safe.
This was spectacular.
And I'm going to be really honest, so I hope you don't mind.
Yeah, that's what we want.
And there will be bumps in the road. There will be twists and turns.
You needed moxie on the floor and volume.
It's the results and the connections and the improvement, the impact we have on other people's life. And that's when life becomes exciting.
Who do you turn to personally to get back on the thriving track?
I was really interested in how the world works.
Thanks for the great introduction.
It was really very simple. I just read part of your bio. Be brief, be bright, be gone.
Get ready to thrive loud with Lou Diamond.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, connecting you to the most inspiring and amazing people that are thriving each and every day. Today on Thrive Loud, we bring you the founder and CEO of Adam Hergenrother Companies. In less than 10 years, he has built this rapidly growing company through his commitment to thinking big and never giving up. Fearless and purposeful, unconventional and systematic, he sets a seemingly impossible goal, then quickly gets to work on closing the gap to achieve it. No limits, no regrets. He's a top realtor, speaker, entrepreneur, and motivator coming from the Green Mountains state of Vermont. From Burlington, Vermont, Thrive Loud listeners, Adam Hergenrother. Adam, how are you today?
Hey, Lou, thanks so much for having me on. I just want to thank you for all the inspiration that you're providing the people that are out there building businesses and trying to succeed out there. It's not easy, and people like you keep people going. So I want to thank you for all the effort and energy you're putting out there.
Well, I appreciate it, Adam. And I also appreciate Burlington. Lived there for 1 year of my life, and a very cool place. I'm still craving the French fries.
Nectars?
Nectars late at night with the gravy and the whole bit. Little bit of showing my age here. A founding member of Fish was actually on my floor freshman year at UVM.
Nice.
True story. So we used to go hear them play, and a guest who's been actually on the show, CEO of Lotami Corporation, Lotami Companies, which is Andy Monfried. We shared about this whole story, and we talked about those French fries at Nectar. So just ran a bit. Obviously not on the health front here, but what we can share with the Thrive Loud listeners is that Adam is got this incredible perspective on running a business, and as he likes to say, being wealthy, balancing money, spirit, health, his life, the work-life integration, and all of that. And I think our Thrive Loud listeners would love to hear kind of your mindset in doing that. How does that sound? Like a plan, Adam?
Sounds awesome. Thank you. And, I'll share a little story with people. So up to about 16 years of age, I was, over 100 pounds overweight my entire kind of early childhood life. And I was in the drugs. I was failing classes. Lou, I was just that role model student you wanted your kid to hang out with.
Understood. Okay.
And the interesting thing is one day as a freshman in high school, I came home and I just had enough. right? I decided that at that moment that I was no longer going to live somebody else's life. I was living in mediocrity. I was living in insecurity. I was living constantly lying, trying to impress things that just weren't going to happen. I was just miserable inside.
Well, hold on, Ad. I'm going to hit the pause button there. That was at 14 years old. You recognized that, and that's like a really young age.
I know.
To recognize 100 pounds overweight. I got that part, but that takes a level of maturity. What was the trigger that kicked off that made you say at that point, I needed to live my own life as opposed to somebody else's?
Yeah, I can say it a little bit more eloquently now. At the moment, I didn't know what was actually causing me to overeat or indulge in things. But just one day I came home, and I think people make decisions in a billionth of a second when they decide on something. And I came home from I remember this incident that happened the weekend before where a bunch of my friends had jumped into a hot tub, and I was so embarrassed to take my shirt off that I didn't get in the hot tub, or I ended up getting into it like with my knees. And I remember just sitting there looking around going like, what am I doing in my life? And a couple of days later went by. And so I came home and I just started crying. I just started crying. And I couldn't stop. And like, I had like Madonna playing or something like that. I don't know what it was, but I was just, and I'm like, this is not the way life's supposed to be. And I didn't know what my life was going to be. I didn't know what it was going to do, but I stayed up, and, around 11 o'clock that night, my dad heard me, and he came in, and the most fatherly figure that they would come in there and say, well, Adam, you've got two solutions you can do. He said, one, you can just deal with it, or two, you can make a change. And he walked out of the room, right? Like that was his advice, which actually was the best advice to hear. And I was like, he's right. And so I stayed up all night, and I started visualizing what I wanted my life to look like. And not like, hey, I'm going out to my garden and visualizing there's no weeds in there, right? And they're going to go away. But more like a visualization of kind of just taking control, if you will, of your life. And so within the next year, I actually ended up not hanging out with any of the people that I was hanging out with. And side note, Lou, they actually stole everything that I had within 2 weeks. And the cops are at the high school. They broke all my windows. Some good friends, right?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
It was crazy. So I ended up losing 100 pounds within a year. And I ended up, I started getting into football. I started getting into sports. And so this is where kind of that physical side started creeping in. It became my gateway that I could use this energy that I had of like this kind of just aggressiveness, this kind of ADD, if you will, a little bit like towards something healthy versus towards something unhealthy. And so I allocated my energy towards that space. And so physical fitness kind of took off, and I ended up becoming captain of my football team and kind of taking my life from there. So when people say, wow, you're 37 and you've accomplished a lot. And I said, well, not really. I said, you're just giving me more credit for it. I said, really, I just made a decision, and I started working on myself when I was 16. So the reality is I've had, 21 years of working on myself, where most people really don't start this journey until a little later on in life. So I just had a little bit more years. I'm not anything special or anybody different than anybody else. I just chose right then.
Well, I think it's unique. I say this, look, a lot of people don't have that inner strength or that inner decision making at that young age, let alone the maturity to want to do that. So kudos to you, by the way, for recognizing that. I'm apologizing that your choice of friends obviously stole everything, and obviously that might have been a good sign. But you did mention something that's interesting, because I know there's lots of personality traits out there. You said there's almost like you took your ADD and you focused into one thing. Some people can tend to be, they've been defined as extreme personalities, and they can be incredibly hard in working in one particular area. That doesn't sound like you, though. This sounds like you found a way to put your ADDness into not only health and fitness, but balance, right? Yeah. Because that seems to be the thing that you've been working on incredibly. Has that scale ever been so out of kilter? Like, I'm only working out, but I'm not working on my business, or I'm not working on my education, or I'm not working on that. Can you share a little bit about that part of the journey? As you took one direction to work on your physicality, it obviously must have also affected your mindset.
Of course it did, right? It just gave me your mindset's an asset. And I think your, listeners need to understand that when you have the confidence of knowing that you can accomplish anything, even though you may not know how to get there, that is an asset that you can pull out. And that's really what that gave me, is the confidence to be able to go out there and do the things I wanted to do. So physical fitness brought that into it. And earlier in my career, I was out of balance on some of these things. So my kind of journey got me to this, where I was working 12-hour days. And then again, when I was 20, just fast forwarding, up until I was about 25, 26, I was making about $500,000 a year. And I was like, I remember I was like, you know, I was actually pretty hubris. I was kind of an ass, to be honest with you. And I remember I got this and I was like, if I make this amount of money, I'm going to feel this way. Right. Like I thought I was going to feel like somehow I was going to like be sitting down in a chair and like this feeling was going to come and take me away. But when I did it, I was like, you know, it's it. I remember having this conversation with my mom, and my mom's like the complete opposite of money. Right. She's just much more of relationships, which is amazing. And I remember telling her about this, and she was like, oh, that's good, and moved on. And I'm like, and at that moment, I realized that people just don't care. Right. And so I actually got depressed, and I went into this kind of like, if money doesn't give you this happiness that I was searching for, then what does? And so then when I was about 11 years ago, I went on this whole spiritual journey, which then I really started putting balance in my life. So I've kind of lived all of these, living on the pendulum swings. And then really over the last 10 years, I've been really focusing on making sure that, here's the deal, Lou. Most people live their life like this. They have these 3 boxes that they have. The first box is, I'm going to learn, which is they go through education. And then once I get to that box, I'm going to stop learning and I'm going to go to work. And I'm going to work for 40 years and I'm going to stay there. Even though I hate my job, I'm going to do these things. I'm going to get through it. It's like you hear that, like, hey, only 10 more years and I can retire. And then people want to go play. And so I kind of at that moment decided, like, you know what, I'm going to integrate all of the wealth that I want. Wealth isn't a money term. I mean, money certainly helps that, but I'm going to integrate all of these components to my life every day. It doesn't mean I'm going to play for 8 hours, but I'm going to play every day. I'm going to learn every day. I'm going to grow every day. I'm going to commit myself every day. So then I used the last decade to really structure my life in a way that I can accomplish all the wealth that I have. So when my time is up, I know that every day I went out there and had the opportunity to play and to learn. And so part of that is, you know, how do you read a book a week, right? How do you exercise what you want to exercise with? How do you surround yourself by people that you want to surround yourself with? And then how do you also have a social life? And it's putting boundaries on all of these things and being look, the only way you can have freedom, which a lot of people in business, they get in the business to have freedom, that ultimately really can't get to it. The only way to have freedom is to live a disciplined life. Discipline will give you the freedom, right? The guy who just broke the marathon record about a month ago, he had this awesome quote, and it says, only the ones that are disciplined are free. Otherwise, you are a slave to your moods and your passions. I love that quote, and that's kind of how I brought in my life. So my morning starts between 3 and 4, depending on the volume that I train for. I compete competitively at Ironmans now, and then I want to get all my training done for my family. I have 3 kids under 6, 4, and 2, so I want to spend time with them every single morning. And then, which is a triathlon onto itself, right there. 6, 4, and 2. Yes, I mean, even more so than a triathlon, right? Yep. It's one of those things. And so and then I've scheduled my business life where I have about 400 people in our organization, a little bit more. And I figured that if I can't accomplish what I want to accomplish in my life, given the hours I'm willing to commit to these things, then I either have the wrong people or this isn't going to work for me. And I try to structure that through everybody in my life. I try to treat them as adults in our business. I'm going to get on the business side, but I just got really purposeful on living every aspect of my life so that I'm reading, that I'm learning, that I'm playing. And again, it can be for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 3 hours, whatever that is. And then I'm growing through the business. I believe business is a conduit for our personal growth. There'd be no other reason why people go into business with unless they're willing to want to go out there and have the struggles to be able to grow through. I like the mixing of the boxes together. And it's actually an interesting point. I think, you know, I'll use this. I'm right before we spoke, I actually did a loop on the elliptical. I just did 30 minutes. And on the elliptical, I probably come up with 3 or 4 different ideas that relate into my business or a certain focus on what I need to get done. And many times while I'm doing work or working with a client, an idea or an inspiration will come for something that has nothing to do with work. I think as we overlap those worlds, we are really connecting them together. And it is really important because it's those activities that help us make each one of them better. Because if all we did was work, obviously we wouldn't be enjoying it and we wouldn't be getting the most out of it. So I totally get where you're going with this. And
kudos to you for deploying the discipline that it takes to do that. And I know how much training triathlons take. And obviously you run a very successful company. You've got family life. I was about to ask, I hope sleep is involved in some of the things that you do. Along these lines, you've actually come up with a unique philosophy, and I wanted to understand a little bit more about it. As I understand it, you have something called the Mediocrity Detox Challenge. Can you share what this concept is for our listeners so they can understand this value that you put together?
Yeah, thanks. And that is one of the most common questions I get is, do you ever sleep? And I said, yeah, I sleep. I go to bed literally like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. To me, nothing good happens after 9 o'clock, right? It's you don't really wake up and go after a cake. Right?
I've been told that's 2 a.m, but everyone can shift their clock. It's 9 o'clock somewhere. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey there! If you're enjoying how Lou is connecting with this guest in this interview, then just imagine how impactful he can be in person. As an international speaker and consultant, Lou Diamond is all about getting organizations to thrive through the power of connecting. To learn more about how you can hire Lou to speak at your company, your conference, or your next event, head on over to loudiamond.net and click the Book Lou button to learn more. He'll truly get everyone to thrive loud. All right, let's get back to the show.
Well, the reason why I came up with the 5 kind of step mediocrity detox challenge was to identify and really kind of eliminate any self-defeating habits and to provide a roadmap for people to be able to go out there. And number one, kind of like you brought it up, and thanks for kind of leading into it, was that the physical side of things. So for me, again, health is so essential. I believe that I actually put health first before my family. And look, if there's an emergency, we get that. But I mean, like, that it becomes a priority in my life, because if I don't hit that, I don't gain that clarity. I don't burn off that energy. I'm not the same. I'm just not the same person that I need to be unless I hit that. So that becomes number one for me, is the physical component of moving. It's also the mental victory of it. People have this kind of impression that people that work out a lot, like, love to work out and it's not a struggle. Well, I'm here to tell you that, like, I work out a lot and I hate almost all of my workouts. And it's a struggle for me. And so part of it is when I wake up in the morning, the first kind of couple thoughts are like, man, I love to stay in bed. I love to do this. I love to just go indulge myself in emails or whatever it is that I can do. But I force myself to not lose the ability to control my life. And so I direct my will to create that mental victory in the morning to basically say, you know what, I'm going to stop this and go work out. I had all these pressing things, but that takes priority. So you're kind of shifting you're taking control of your mindset from the beginning, giving you that ability to go after. So then you go into it, and then you got to get the power through the workout, right? And then 15 minutes into it, you're going, you know what? Like, I want to stop running. And you're like, nope, I'm going further. And so you just have all these mental victories in the first, hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever you're doing in the morning for working out. So that's number one, is the physical side of this. The second side is spiritual. And I don't mean like spirituality in terms of, you got to be up on a mountainside in like lead position with smoke coming up and reciting a haiku, right? It's more about understanding that there's something more beyond you. And so however you accomplish that, whether that's, a smile, a thank you, a gratitude note, whatever that is for somebody, that's your spiritual side. For me, I do TM twice a day. So I start off, the first thing I do is I meditate for 20 minutes in the morning.
And you're good.
What's that?
I can't get past 8 minutes. I tried, but anyway, keep going.
It's tough in the beginning. And so I force myself to do that and I enjoy it. So that's the kind of spiritual side of those things. Again, just kind of clearing out, any kind of lingering thoughts that are in there, just trying to gain clarity. Because when you have clarity and energy, think about when you have that as a business owner, folks, like, you are going out there to take on the world, which is an exciting part to be. So I move myself spiritually with that, understand that there's something more than me, understand that I can serve a much greater good beyond serving yourself. I still think most of us are making life too much about ourselves. And if we start making about other people, including our employees, the people closest to us, that life will unfold exactly how it needs to for us. So that's kind of the spiritual side of things for me. The intellectual side of this, so you have physical, spiritual, intellectual is the third one. And this means that you've dedicated yourself to be a learner, whether that's learning a new sport, like, I've been a snowboarder all my life, and I woke up one day in the summer, I said, you know what, I'm just going to learn skiing. So I went out and got all the skiing stuff, and I started learning I've never learned how to ski before, but it's part of just, I want the experience of it. And so you go out there and How do you gain a 52-1 advantage over your competition? Well, read 52 books a year. It's one a week, right? And so for me, it's how do you continue to learn, but it becomes part of your staple every day, right? So what are you doing, not just through your business, but what are you purposefully doing every day through disciplines for a short period of time to build a habit so that you can continue that lifelong learning exercise, which is really what we're all here for, is to gain experiences to grow spiritually. So again, the intellectual side. The fourth one is purposeful. And this is really being very purposeful on your time. And what I mean, here's the thing. I believe that 50% of what people do in a week actually doesn't matter. And I mean that like from the standpoint of the business. I think 50% of things that people do throughout a week are just, they're not moving your financial meter if you're measuring it in terms of ROI or dollars. So I would encourage everyone to grab that big button on your keyboard that says delete and start deleting a lot of things out of your calendar that really don't mean anything. I've literally gotten to the point where I dropped, when I first learned about this, started adopting in there, I took all of my meetings and dropped them by 50%. So if I had a 30-minute meeting, I dropped them down to 15 minutes. And what I found is we actually didn't even need 15 minutes. We only needed 8. And some of the meetings, I found that 15 wasn't quite enough and we needed 30 or 45. But I became purposeful on my time. Here's the cool thing. If you guys can all start measuring your day in minutes, this will become much more abundant and clear to you. So don't measure it in days or weeks or months. Measure your time in minutes. Remember, we all have 24 hours in a day, so time is not the cheat. People like to think that time is the cheat, but it's not. It's how impactful you are with your time. And what I found that by doing that is if I measure my day in minutes, if a meeting's just going sideways, I get up and leave, right? Just because I'm trying to save everybody else's time too as well. I mean, if you've got a lot of people in your organization, or even 5 people, and you waste an hour, you just wasted 5-6 hours of productive time. So it's your job as a leader to start measuring your day in minutes. So that's the fourth one, is just being purposeful on time, being purposeful on who you serve, and measuring your day in minutes, if I can give a little suggestion there. And then the last one is cultural, right? This is, look, I believe that culture isn't defined by an owner. Culture is defined by the people that you hire. So I would encourage everybody to take their voice, become who they are. Don't try to placate to both sides, because they end up getting people inside your organization who have competing roles or visions for the organization. Now, I'm not talking politics. I'm talking about they have the same work ethic, they have the same drive, they have the same shared vision, right? It's like when you ask somebody to put their seatbelt on in a car, they're not putting it on because they're obedient. They're putting it on because you have a shared vision, because that person doesn't want to die either. So it's how do you bring that into your organization so that's a reflection of the people that you continually bring into your organization creates your culture. And so it's being purposeful on your culture, your values, your standards. See, for me, I remember really clearly when I got into business, I was making about $32,000 a year as a commercial underwriter. And about 6 months into my job, my manager came to me and said, Adam, it was Tuesday morning. She said, I said, hey, I finished my file. Can I have another one? She looked at me and said, you've got to slow this down because you're making everyone look bad. So why don't you take the file and make this last till Friday? I'm not even kidding you. And I was like, I remember walking back to my cubicle, looking around here, and people were just in mediocrity. Right? They had these mediocre lives. And I said, you know what? I can't do this. And I think people don't want to live that. They just don't know there's another option for them. And so if there's anything that I can hopefully encourage people to do, is to take a stand for their life. No, don't let anybody ever put a limit on your thinking or dumb your life up. They don't have that right to do that. And so really go out there and being purposeful on the people you surround yourself with is going to give you that. And so we created this culture of basically being adults is what we call it.
Yeah, I like it.
If you have to leave from 2 to 4 o'clock because you got a doctor's appointment, you don't need to tell anybody, right? Just go. If you want to go work on your boat at 1 o'clock and do some work from there, but you're going to get all your stuff done, awesome, right? We have, that kind of, the limited paid vacations, no set hours. We have that in our organization, but that's just rhetoric, I believe. I think it's really how you live that. And I believe that we really impose on our people to make sure that they're taking the time for themselves. Like some of my best people come in at 9 because or 9:30 because they want to get their workouts in. They want to do this stuff, and we support that. But I know that they're going to get all their stuff done. We're a results-driven organization, and if you can get your results done in 3 hours and it takes somebody else 5, then you just gain 2 hours. You can either grow yourself more or go have fun with that extra hours. It's not about the time commitment. It's about how productive you are with the minutes that you have each moment.
It's so, Adam, this is great stuff. And by the way, I mean, like we can go on here. No. I was joking about the fact because, I literally have people come into a meeting that no meeting should be longer than 10 minutes. I believe that, and then people who have complaints about, I don't have enough time to do prospecting. I kill them on this because that is a valuable component to your job. And therefore take that 30-minute meeting and you just gained back 22 of them. Go use that time to go prospect effectively, which is a productive part of your day. But maybe most notably to what you were saying, which I'm kind of laughing about, in putting this whole thing together, the time of the energy that you put into a day, I love this concept. Half of what you do is really not that important. I think it's really half of what you do is making the most of every day within that. And I think that's a really important thing. Like you said, doing it for yourself, learning, all those different buckets. And that's pretty powerful. And that's kudos to you, Adam, for deploying a culture and a mindset that is empowering to everything else. And I'm going to spin this into a question I love to ask our guests, Adam. And that is, look, even someone like you who's got this discipline, focus on all the things to make the most out of what you can do, we all have off days. So when you have trouble thriving, Adam, who or what practice do you seek to get yourself back on the thriving track?
Yeah. Well, thanks for the compliments. I just want to share with people that I'm literally no different than anybody else. In fact, sometimes when I'm doing these podcasts, I feel like a fraud doing them because I don't feel like I do anything special than anybody else. So I just want to let everyone, anything that people want.
Well, it doesn't make you feel like a fraud. It makes you feel like that's who you are, authentically who you are. Yep.
Yeah. But anyways, so for me, when I'm off, I will grab, I will go most likely to the fastest conference that I can go to, some sort of teaching or something, right? That I can. If it's something that's immediate, like I'm not having a bad day, a hard run pretty much always does it for me. For me, it's not, and I love to tell you that it's going like on a romantic walk with my wife or holding my kids. It's not. It's for me. It's got to be like, I've got to go through some pain. And so that's kind of my go-to is like, I will go and run as hard as I need to, or bike or hike, or I just need to get outside to allow that clarity to escape so I don't trap that negative thought in my mind.
I like that. So let's do the nice thing here and do all the plugs, Adam. Give us all the places where we can find you, learn more about your organization, all the social media, websites, stuff like that. We will put it on the show notes, but it always comes better when they hear it from you.
Yeah, AdamHergenrother.com. AdamHergenrother.com would be the best.
That's a lot of E's and vowels in there, by the way.
It would be the best website. My Instagram handler is at Adam A. Hergenrother, or you can go there. We're really active on there. But AdamHergenrother.com will have access to all our social media stuff. We have a blog that I write every single week that I'd love for you guys to go out there and take a look and provide some feedback on for me. That's herglife.com. But that will be also linked to the AdamHergenrother.com website as well.
That's awesome. Okay. Now we're going to have a little bit of fun here. Not that we haven't been having fun from the very beginning. I'm going to go with 2 questions here. One, which I gave you the heads up at, and I know you're a fan of the show, so you know that this is coming. What is your all-time favorite movie? To someone who goes to sleep at 9:00 at night, I don't even know if there is time for a movie.
The interesting thing is that the movie that continues to come up in my mind when I was thinking about this earlier was the movie Commando. I don't know why. I don't know if you remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger. Yeah, just because the physical component of that. I watched that reruns and over. I was trying to think of a better movie before about this question, and I was going to try to make up something better, but that's just the first movie that comes to mind. That's just like the all-time kind of go-to. I know it's not the best, but Commando is it.
All right. So this is a question that I don't even know you have an answer for, but you live in Vermont. And for those who've been in Vermont, there is a wonderful place that's not too far from where you live. That's the Ben & Jerry's ice cream factory. And I went there with my family recently. I was actually there with my wife and my daughter. My son was not with us at the time. The question at hand is, you get one flavor to pick from Ben & Jerry's ice cream. What are you doing? Where are you going to?
100% cookie dough. But let me tell you, can I expand on that?
Of course.
It would be they have what's called the Vermonster there. Have you ever heard of that?
Which is like every single possible flavor known to man. I don't know anyone that's ever really finished
5
it.
brownies. And so they have a mini Vermonster. And one time I was doing this kind of IF thing where you fast and then like you have a cheat day. And so on my cheat day, I literally went out there to go eat this entire mini Vermonster. It was, and I got like 3/4 of the way through there, and I was like, I just can't do it. I couldn't get my name on the wall. But that would be I love brownie sundaes with chocolate, with cookie dough ice cream. It would be.
For anyone who hasn't had a chance to go up to Vermont and go to the Ben & Jerry's factory, you need to go. They actually have a graveyard for all of the flavors that are no longer being produced. And they put tombstones with the logo or the colors and whatever it is. It's one of the funnier things you'll ever see at a factory store, but also a great dairy farm. And Vermont's obviously really proud of their dairy products and how they do things and non-GMO and stuff like that. So even though ice cream isn't the healthiest things, we always allowed to have a treat for ourselves. And I can imagine you'd like that. So I just always think about that in your neighborhood up there. So
Love it.
Well, anyway, Adam, this has been really cool. We've got all the plugs. We've got all these places. You truly embody Thriving Loud every day. I think that concept of what your company's doing, how you balance your day, and your philosophy is something that a lot of other organizations should really take on. And I hope a lot of our executives and entrepreneurs who listen to this program kind of inject some of that great thinking. So thank you for sharing that today, and thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for all your inspiration and everything that you're doing to help move the needle for business owners.
You got it, my friend. And to all our Thrive Loud listeners out there, thank you for joining us. And until next time, keep thriving onward and upward. And remember, be brief, be bright, be gone.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's what made you did.
I lied.
You've been listening to Thrive Loud with Lou Diamond, you lucky person you. As long as you're not a weirdo, make sure to subscribe on iTunes, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. Please, I'm begging you, we're really cool. Also, follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Come on, I know you all have those social media platforms and you use them on the daily. If not, find us on the web at thriveloud.com. It was nice thriving with you, and see you next time.